guys, welcome back to another episode of the Whiskey Diaries. My name is Martin Lang, we're here at Death and Taxes, and today we're going to be talking about the Blue Spot. This is the latest release of the Spots whiskies done by the Mitchells & Sons that got released in 2020 and is, at least in Australia, very, very hard to get. Now, a little bit of history of Mitchells & Sons and where the green and the yellow and the blue spots come from and so on and so on. Mitchells & Sons was a bakery that got established in the early 1800s. By the late 1800s, they became a wine merchant as well. Back in the day in Ireland, it was very common for basically groceries and bakeries and so on to start selling wine, and because of these barrels and surplus of barrels, because at that time bottles weren't common, so everything got shipped in barrels. It was common to get like new distillate and put it in the barrels and age it and then sell them themselves. In this particular case, the whiskey in the beginning was coming from the Jameson distillery just down the road, but later on it became the Middleton distillery. That is what they're using nowadays. So basically what the spots represents the age. So each barrel was marked with a different color spot, just to let them know what year, how long did the whiskies needed to be aged for. Now they started with the 5, then they did the 7, 10, 12 and 15. Now, initially it was the 7 years old, which is the blue spot. Now later on, the green spot which one became the favorite for everybody. But all of the whiskies were aged in sherry casks, different types of sherries. The blue spot eventually became aged with American, and in this case, the new release is actually between 3 types of wood. We'll go into that in a second. So anyway, in the in the 1900s, in 1960, the Mitchells & Sons basically cancelled all the different colors, so the yellow, the red and the blue, and they just kept the green. And recently they started releasing one by one. So the yellow spot got re-released in the early 2012. The red spot got released in 2018, and the blue spot just got released in 2020. Very limited amount as well. To represent what the original blue spot was, because the 7-year-old was initially what the Mitchells & Sons started distilling, aging first. They decided to do it cask strength, and this is the first time they release a cask strength, and this is a whopping 58.9% ABV. That's very, very strong. If you've seen other videos, I really enjoy whiskies are between 46 and 50%, but after that you really need some water, which we're going to go through, because it's actually quite strong. But the reason why they did that is because basically that's what you were getting back in the day, straight out of the barrel. Now this whiskey is aged in 3 types of wood, which is basically you got American oak, sherry and Madeira. Madeira is a Portuguese type of wine, and it was very common back in the day as well. Now the Madeira in this particular whiskey actually gets sent in Portugal to create the barrels. They get sent to the island of Madeira. They put Madeira sherry in it. Then after that, they get shipped to Ireland, and in Ireland, in the Middleton distillery, they basically obviously get dumped out, and then they get refilled with new make whiskey, which then goes into this particular bad boy. Now the other one, the sherry, is just a standard sherry vat, which usually, as we said in previous videos, is around 600 to 650 liters, and then you get just the normal American oak, which is basically just standard. We don't know which distillery they're actually coming from, but I'm assuming this just will be any of the major distilleries that they have heaps of casks running around. That's sort of about pretty much it for the whiskey itself. Obviously, it's triple distilled, being Irish whiskey. But for the other thing that I like about this particular bottle is the fact that they put their tasting notes. As we always talk about, tasting notes in these videos is very subjective, so you might be able to get something else instead. But basically here you get like a mix of pineapple, kiwi, green banana, and lime zest. So I'm just gonna give it a good try. Now, remembering as well that this is 58% ABV, almost 60%, we're going to get, you don't want to get your nose right into the glass because this is going to be really strong, so you're going to numb your nose. And straight away you can obviously smell the alcohol, but I can certainly smell a little bit of banana in that. And yes, it does smell a little bit more tropical, which is strange considering the amount of sherry that it has that comes in the whiskey itself. Now, the way we always try this sort of ABV whiskey, what we try to do is we try to have a quick sip and then give it a rating between 0 to 10 to give you an idea of how strong the whiskey is. And then after that, we're going to just use a little dropper and add about whatever number you gave it plus 1. Ooh, that punch a kick. Jesus, that's good though. It's actually not as strong as I thought it was going to be. But at this rate, you can't really taste a lot except for the alcohol. It's actually quite burning. Yeah, so what I'll probably give it this an 8. So I'll probably put about 9 drops of water. And there you go. Give it a little swirl, and then what water does is just opens up the whiskey and releases all the oils and aromas that usually are hidden behind the alcohol. And it's really good to add to whiskey so it's strong. If you don't want to add water, you can add some ice as well. It doesn't hurt. Yeah, it's a lot better. Wow. Okay, that opened up a lot. So definitely you get a lot of the fruit characteristics that you can read behind the label, but there's some certain. It's obviously the sherry, all those spiciness. I can taste now a little bit of clove, definitely some dark chocolate as well, which is strange as well considering the fruit that you get in the front palate. Then there's some certain dark chocolate at the back. Thinking dark chocolate about 80%, 85% cacao. But all in all, it's a very interesting whiskey, very delicious, and definitely has some like the classic Irish backbone that is basically the triple distill and those caramel notes that you get as well. So that's it for the Blue Spot. Currently this whiskey is completely out of stock in Australia and is very hard to get in Europe. We got lucky that one of our friends brought it back with him from directly a bottle shop in the UK. But besides that, I can't find it anywhere online. So if you can get yourself a bottle, definitely worth having. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for listening, and Slanjaba. We'll see you next time.